and in this video we'll be looking at the Nokia N8 and its successor, the PureView 808 device. When the N8 came out, it was the imaging smartphone, a 12 megapixel camera with a xenon flash, Carl Zeiss lens, and even 1.5 years later, despite the fact that the iPhone 4, the 4S, the Galaxy S2 came out, nothing has really come close to the quality that the N8 offers. The only challenger to that device comes to us in the form of its successor, which is the 808 PureView, which packs an astounding 41 megapixel camera with a xenon flash and an LED lens and an LED light as well, which you can use during videos. By comparison, the Nokia N8 only came with a xenon flash. There was a red assist light and a notification light when you were trying to take a focus, but there was no LED. So that's changed. Nokia has also made the flash on this device twice as bright as it was on the Nokia N8. Again, the LED is also super bright so that you get great light when you're shooting video. In terms of sheer performance, the N8 by default took 12 megapixel photos. However, the PureView 808 device is capable of taking 38 megapixel images if you're shooting in the 4:3 mode, or about 34 megapixels if you're shooting in the 16:9. By default, in the auto mode, it takes pictures at 8 megapixels and resamples all the images to give you a really crisp image. But the basic difference between the two devices is how Nokia has used the 41 megapixel sensor. Using such a large sensor has meant that Nokia has been able to provide and zoom which is similar to optical zoom, but without actually putting in the moving parts and the entire bulk that putting an optical zoom involves. So what they do is that they use the entire 41 megapixel sensor, and then as you zoom in, you kind of use the entire sensor, and because of that you would not lose in quality. So it's not a crop that usually happens with digital zoom, but it's actually utilizing the entire sensor. This means you can go in quite a bit without losing any quality whatsoever. In terms of video performance, the Nokia N8 is capable of 720p in 30 frames per second. There's also the option of close-up autofocus or autofocus if you switch to the close-up mode. On the PureView 808, this device can do 1080p at 30 frames a second, continuous autofocus, or you can also use the hyper depth of field, which lets you which keeps everything in focus provided it's more than about 15-20 centimeters away, maybe less, maybe more, but that's the general idea, that if it's farther than a specific distance, then everything will be in focus and you don't need to worry about focus hunting. Otherwise, it has a slightly larger battery, a larger screen. The N8 came with a 3.5-inch display. This bad boy ships with a 4-inch clear black display from Nokia, a 1.3 gigahertz processor compared to a 680 megahertz processor on the N8. Then a much more powerful GPU, a dedicated camera chip as well. The N8 did not have all of that. So the performance on the PureView 808 is much quicker. As you can see, the scrolling is much smoother compared to the N8. So in all ways, this is an upgrade. Both devices have FM transmitters, a fact that I'm really glad about. In terms of looks, on the side, the button placements are similar. A volume rocker, dedicated lock switch, camera switches. The back is similar. A bump for the camera to accommodate the larger sensors. Loudspeakers right there. And then, but the big difference is that the N8 did not have a replaceable battery, but you can pry open the PureView 808 replace batteries. This uses a micro SIM. This used a full-size SIM which you could put on the side. On the sides again, the PureView 808 is absolutely clean. The micro SD card and the SIM go right under the battery, under this cover. That had been moved to the side with the N8. Then there was a micro USB port which has been moved to the top. Like the N8, there's also an HDMI out and a 3.5mm jack, but there's no dedicated power button. This button right here serves as not only the power button, but it lets you lock the switch, turn power saving on and off, and if your device ever gets stuck, you can do a really long press of this device and restart the phone. Again, because of Symbian Bell, there's this 3-button approach. The N8 in comparison just had this one button which just opened the menu. Everything else was on the home screen itself. There are a bunch of new widgets as well. This new clock widget, which I really like. I don't know if you can see, but the internal mechanism of the clock is also moving. It shows you the day, the date, and a bunch of different things. Certain new widgets which have been added for quick shortcuts to photos that have been taken. A double tap lets you zoom in, a double tap moves out, and then you can quickly switch back. And integration with the Nokia Big Screen, which is the application that takes over the phone when you connect via HDMI. So in all manners, compared to the N8, a much better phone. This device will retail at about €450. It'll ship sometime in the next quarter. I'm guessing in about 2 months' time. The camera phone to look out for, the N8 was great in its time. It's had a 1.5-year reign, but now it's all about the PureView technology and the 808 in particular. This is probably the last Symbian flagship that Nokia will ever make, and it's good to see that they've not really made many compromises. In fact, there are very, very little compromises that they've made with this device, and it promises to be a device to look out for. This was a quick look at the Nokia N8 and the PureView 808 side by side. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.